PR Connections Radio presents.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Guy Dawson, and I am your host. And I am here with David Kelly, and he is the host of an upcoming podcast that we're going to air here on the network. It is going to be called the Henderson Living Podcast. He is a publisher, and really excited to be interviewing him today. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Guy. I appreciate it.
And so, as I had mentioned, you're going to be hosting this podcast on the network, Henderson Living. And I also had touched on the fact that you were a publisher. Maybe you'd like to talk about your career in publishing.
Sure. Well, my career in publishing is actually pretty interesting. I did not start off as a publisher. My background has really been corporate marketing. So the last 20 years, I've been doing corporate marketing, sports marketing. When I was back in Atlanta, I did a lot of the marketing for our sports teams, like the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Dream, the Atlanta Silverbacks, the Atlanta Explosion, Gwinnett Gladiators. And then when I moved out to Louisville, Kentucky, I lived out there for about 7 years. And then I started doing more corporate marketing for like Bank of America, Urban Franchise Capital, University of Louisville Hospital. So I started doing corporate marketing. My partnerships with my corporate marketing when I moved to Las Vegas is how I got reached out or got put into the possibility of doing a publishing job. So when I learned more about this publishing job and got more tied into what I'd be actually doing, I became a publisher. So I think they just kind of put me on because I had marketing background. I did publish a Christian magazine for about 2 years in Atlanta. But I don't think that had anything to do with this job. I think they just thought that I had a good marketing background and they thought that it would fit well with the magazine.
Yeah, there is a lot of overlap, David, between the marketing sector, as you know. That's how you ended up in the business that you're in, and the world of media, being able to provide a media platform for people. And so how are you enjoying now? You got this background in marketing, which is extensive from what you just shared, some of these really big entities that you have done marketing for. And now you've got this print publication. How has the transition been for you?
I love it. When you're doing corporate marketing, obviously you're only as good as your last event or your last project. Whereas this is not, doing the publication, since it's so community developed. A lot of my direction, even though I don't really work for the community, it really comes from the community. So it's really much easier. They're not as, unforgiving as maybe a corporate partner may be. So they've really directed the way the magazine's gone, and I've kind of just taken on their direction. And to be honest with you, I have a lot more free time. I'm not getting phone calls at 9:30 on a Friday night because I shut down my business at 5 o'clock on Fridays. So I love it. I love it because of the freedom, being able to still use the skill set that I have, being able to work with communities and being able to build relationships with businesses without having that stress of always having a home run hit in a marketing campaign. I love it.
Yeah, there is a certain freedom, isn't there, David, when you're you're managing something that you own. I mean, yes, there's a lot that comes with that, the responsibility that comes with it. But as you mentioned, I mean, when you're truly the one that's managing the platform, you dictate your hours, the work you'll take, the work you won't take. There's definitely a lot of peace of mind that comes with that, and freedom.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably even more important than anything else, is just having that freedom, that ability to have that time. Now that I'm getting a little bit older, being able not to be working, all day, every day, which, as you know, having your own business, that's kind of what you tend to do. Most people think that when you work for yourself, you don't, you kind of work a little bit here and a little bit there. They don't normally realize that you probably work double the time that you work if you were working for a regular job. So just kind of learning not to do that with this project. And like I said, being a local voice for the community, I love it. It's a much different feel, even though it does have a lot of the similarities of marketing and advertising.
Inspirata Living is the publication that you're going to be producing out in Henderson. Maybe you could talk about what that's all about. What type of a platform is Inspirata Living?
Yeah, it's a private magazine in Inspirata. We cover about 3,000 homes. They get mailed to them every month. It actually has been around since 2017. It was under the name Neighborhood Villages. So actually, people that are seeing this video, they're going to be one of the first people to know that we are changing the name for the next issue. It's going to be called Inspirata Living because it just fits the community a lot better. It is really focused on the community. We feature a Inspirata family, and we promote them by doing an article, and it makes the magazine a lot more readable. When you see somebody that you may know in the community, or you see a kid that probably goes to your kid's school, it makes you more apt to read the article, get to know who your neighbor is. The magazine, even though it's only about 24, 30 pages, it is a cover to cover type magazine that you can kind of read through because it all focuses on Inspirata. If we're not writing it, then the people in Inspirata are writing it. So it's either about them, it's for them, or it's being written by them.
And it's really interesting, David, something I've learned I've been in PR and marketing for quite a while. And one of the things that I've seen a trend is that, of course, print media has really reduced a lot. There's a lot of newspapers that are no longer in production, or they've dramatically reduced the amount of copies that they produce. The print side of media has really made a big shift in this last decade. But there's something about local publications. They continue to be going strong, publications like the one that you're producing. Why do you think that is? Why do you think local publications are still going strong when so many other print publications are not?
I think it just gives that community feel. I think everybody kind of wants to go back to Mayberry. Everybody liked that feel of knowing your neighbors, being comfortable with, we can't do this now, but keeping your doors unlocked, knowing all the kids in the neighborhood. So a neighborhood magazine like that kind of gives you that encompassing feeling of neighborhood and of family. I live, where I live in Vegas, it doesn't have that feel, so which is the reason why I'm actually moving to the area that I'm representing now. It is not it doesn't have a feel of community. It doesn't have a feel of ownership. So I think local magazines like this, it gives you that opportunity, it gives you that feeling. You get to know who's in your magazine, who's the people that are writing in the articles, who the people are being featured in the magazine and in the cover. And so it gives you a feel of this is about me and it's for me. Whereas if you're reading a larger magazine or publication, it's more of going to be a generalization. It's not going to be about your neighborhood or about your area or about the people that are in your schools and community. So being able to see that something like that is actually for you, I think that makes it. I think that's the real secret sauce to why the community magazines are still doing well.
Yeah, actually being able to see someone that you saw in the magazine, David, right? You're in the neighborhood, maybe you're going to the grocery store, or you're just taking a walk through the neighborhood, and you come across someone who was featured in the magazine, maybe a business that was featured in the magazine. There's definitely a stronger connection with the local scene, just being in the proximity of people who are featured in your publication.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree 100%. 100%.
So tell me about the types of businesses, because obviously media is always driven by business. You've got people, advertisers, people who want to display what they do and how they do it. How will local business benefit as a result, or any business for that matter that gets featured in your publication as a result of being in it?
So, we do a lot of things a lot differently than maybe other magazines. Inspirata is such a unique community. It does have that Mayberry feel. So we're able to do a lot of things that maybe Mayberry does, that maybe, that you wouldn't be able to find in other locations in Las Vegas, or really anywhere on the West Coast. So our partnerships, when we bring in our businesses, we give them exclusivity. So we don't have real estate agents that are competing against each other. What we do is we partner our other partners with each other. So if we have a real estate agent, we may have a mortgage company, we may have a moving company, we may have a blinds company, which we actually have all of those things. And what we do is we partner them together. So that one customer is actually being used by all four of them, but they're not targeting, or they're not fighting for that money, because they're all doing something separate, even though that client needs, or that customer needs, those things. Another thing that we always try to do is make sure that the people that we're bringing in are going to be people that are desired by our readership. So I do look for people, I do look for certain businesses. Instead of hiring a salesperson, I wanted to go out and meet the community for myself and make sure that we have the right targeted businesses. So we don't have just random businesses that are in there. Those businesses, I've kind of vetted, I've learned about who they are, and I believe that there's ability for them to make a return on investment, because I don't believe that advertising is the best thing to do if you're not going to make a return on investment. And with printing, it is especially difficult because it takes much longer. Printing is more of a branding apparatus, as opposed to maybe something else that you might see like on television or billboards or anything like that. So we always bind our print with geo-targeting. So we do digital advertising with Facebook and Instagram and Google with that ad. So, they're being served, anybody, coming in that area, they're still being served that ad. So it's just a constant top of mind repetition. And so we focus on making, having businesses that are in there that can benefit from that, and we put businesses in there that our readers, we believe, want to see. If they're all homeowners, so we make sure that they have things that homeowners need, a HVAC company, an insurance company, things that they're going to need, as opposed to maybe having, nothing wrong with other other businesses. But I really kind of focus on the businesses that are going to be a benefit to the readers. So I think that's the reason why we've been so successful, because we don't have that competition of, different agents that are in it. We also allow our businesses to write articles in our magazine, not to advertise for themselves, but to educate the reader, so that reader understands that whatever that particular thing is, once again, gives them top of mind recognition. When you see an attorney in a print ad, you may not need that attorney right then. You may need it 6 months down the line. So that magazine, those articles, those digital ads is giving a top of mind presence to them. So like I said, we focus on businesses that we believe that we can give a good return on investment, as well as branding them in that community, in that one specific community. We really ultra push that advertising into that Inspirata community.
Mm-hmm. That geo-targeting is so valuable, David. It's one of the advantages of technology, and in these times, you being a marketing guy and having a good understanding of that. Just what you shared was just so valuable for those of you who are watching this podcast to understand why geo-targeting is geographically targeting certain marketing can make all the difference in the world in the results that you're able to produce. And again, that's one of the reasons why these local magazines are so popular, is that geo-targeting aspect. There's just very valuable information that you just shared.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not certain how well the print ads will do by themselves, just because it just takes so long, for it. Sometimes when you're seeing a magazine, unless you're needing something right then, the chances of you going to a magazine to look for a HVAC person is pretty small. But if you're going, most people, what I do is when I'm looking for something, I get my phone and I ask Google or Alexa or Siri. And having that geo targeting with that print ad, if they've seen it in the magazine and that name comes up from Siri or Google, it gives them more of a feeling of, yes, this is who I want to be with. We're creatures of habit, so if we see something over and over again, then we believe that is good, even though we may not have experienced it or had any background on that particular business. So that's our focus. That's it's marketing. That's what we do.
Yes, David, along with having the Inspirata Living magazine out there in Henderson, as I had mentioned before, we're going to launch a podcast here at prconnectionsradio.com called Henderson Living. And boy, for those people, this is sort of a locally focused. We are based as a network here in Las Vegas, although we have podcasts in other states and even in another country. But Henderson, Nevada is a city that I really like. I've lived in the Las Vegas area for 28 years, and I've spent a lot of time in Henderson. Maybe you could share with the audience. A lot of people don't know that it's a city just outside of Las Vegas, and you are going to be talking about things related to Henderson in your podcast.
Absolutely. Obviously we have a lot of businesses in the magazine, so we'll obviously highlight and represent some of those people. But this podcast allows us to kind of go a little bit deeper. It allows us to be able to reach out to other people that are affecting businesses and operations within Henderson. So, your politicians, your local businesses, your influential people that may be in Henderson. It gives us the opportunity to be able to talk to those people as well that may not be found in the magazine because they're not really in that Inspirata area. Inspirata is such a small little area in that West Henderson, but Henderson is really big, Water Street, and there's so many other things that are in Henderson. Being able to talk to, just like you were saying, a mayor, being able to talk to a judge, being able to talk to other people that are doing things, especially when we have so many things going on in Henderson, them building a new sports center out there, that might not be in the magazine, but it may be in the podcast, so it just kind of depends. It just gives us another broader opportunity, not only to market and advertise for our current partners, but for our listeners and our viewers to be able to learn other things in Henderson and learn about other things that they may not see in the magazine.
Yeah, Henderson is a really interesting city, David. Many years ago, there used to be a publication down on Water Street. It was called the Henderson Press, and the office was down there, and I wrote for them for quite a while. And that was, again, it was a local newspaper. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I really enjoy Henderson. There's a lot of diversity in Henderson. You've got like the old Henderson down there on Water Street, which is actually really redeveloping and growing a lot right now. But then you have Anthem, you have Inspirata, you have Green Valley, part of Henderson, just a lot of diversity in the city. And I could just see so much potential with this podcast, as you had mentioned before, just being able to show what Henderson is all about. People who live in Henderson are like really die hard when it comes to Henderson. They just love that city.
Yeah, they really are, and yet you're hard pressed to find someone that lives in Henderson, especially for 5+ years, to even really say anything bad about Henderson. They really love the city, which in fact, their love for the city probably made me have more love for the city as well. When I first moved out here about 4 years ago, I moved to Summerlin, which is, kind of different than, it's just, kind of different than Henderson. So being able to go to Henderson, get to meet the people and the businesses there, their mindset for their city, their love for their city, their love for their community is, it reminds me of the Southern City. Actually, it reminds me of just of an area all by themselves. So I love it. I love Henderson. I'm looking to move out to Henderson because of this newfound love that I have with it. And the people there, the businesses there, they're great. So I definitely want to continue to engulf myself into that community.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. We're really looking forward to having your show on the network, David, representing a suburb of Las Vegas, Henderson, a really underrated city. Everyone, you think of Vegas and everyone knows about Vegas, but Henderson is it's just a really impressive city. And to have you highlighting businesses and being able to cover other topics related to Henderson on our network, we're just really looking forward to it. Anything else you want the audience to know about what they're going to see when they tune in? I guess it's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. is when we're going to be airing the podcast.
Yeah. We'll do 2 days a week. 20-minute shows, nothing long. I don't want to bore the people, and I don't want to scare them off by having them watch a video of me every other day. So 20-minute sessions of information about Henderson is a real direction. I am very open to hearing the community. So if there's any responses or anything that we get from the shows and they want to see, and the listeners and viewers want to see something different, I'm always open to changing those type things. But my focus is really going to be on, highlighting what a great place this is and all the different people that are in it that make it such a great spot.
Well, David Kelly is going to be the host of Henderson Living podcast. He's going to be talking about all things Henderson, and he is also the publisher of Inspirata Living magazine out there. If someone wanted to get a hold of you, David, to learn more about your publication, or if they might be interested in being involved in this podcast, what would be the best way that they could get a hold of you?
So the best way is probably via email. It's very difficult for me to answer my phones a lot. So, my email is davidkelly@bestversionmedia.com. It's probably the best way to reach out to me. I would say that's the best way. That's easy. That's easily the best way, because it's just, my phone, I'm not around my phone as much as maybe most other people are, just because I just don't like being tied down to my phone. So email is always the best way to get to me.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by PR Connections today, David. Again, we are so looking forward to highlighting businesses and things related to Henderson on our network. We know that you are going to bring a tremendous amount of value for all of our viewers out there. And so, hey, everybody, tune in to Henderson Living with David Kelly here at prconnectionsradio.com.
Thanks a lot, Guy. I appreciate you.
All right. And continue to tune into our network, prconnectionsradio.com. Check us out on all of our social sites. For those of you who are watching over on YouTube, we would love for you to subscribe to our network. We've got a batch of new shows that are going to be coming onto the network in the near future. Please stay connected to our website, prconnectionsradio.com, to learn more about them, as well as all of our social media sites. See you soon. Take care of yourselves.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.